All right, so this is Rob Bushway again, and we're back with Scott Eckert and John Doherty. They're both co-founders of Motion Computing, and John actually predates Scott in Motion, and we thought it would be great for you guys to get some background information as to into Motion, the early days, and the road along the way. So I'm gonna let Scott introduce John.
Can I tell John's story?
Please do, because I'm gonna screw it up. So
John's one of the reasons why I'm in Motion in the first place. So John is one of the original founders of the company. So back when the company was getting started, Dave Altunian, founder of the company, called John, and he was phone call number 2 or 3, maybe. This is in August of 2001. And said, John, we got a great idea. We're going to make a great product. John was just leaving Dell after 7 years at Dell and 15 years at Apple doing notebook product development.
Something like that.
John was looking forward to not working quite as hard, but somehow
6-month vacation sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah, it still does. Somehow John was convinced to take a 1-day vacation.
The very next day after I left Dell, David called me at 9 o'clock in the morning when I was having my first cup of coffee.
See, there you go. A couple months later is when I actually joined. By that time, John already had an industrial design model in the early stages of what would eventually be the M1200 product. It was already in the works way back in late 2001.
But that was John's buddies. We worked with a lot of David's old friends and my old friends, and we put the concept together. We tried to figure out what the use patterns would be, and we found the smartest people that we could. It was a ton of fun.
And you took one leap of faith that no one else had done, which was, this is going to date us, but it was a 12-inch display on a slate. And that did not exist in the market. 10.4-inch was the only thing in the market. And that we were being advised that that was the size to do. And John said, no, 12-inch makes more sense.
My last 3 years at Dell, I ran the ultra portable engineering group. And I've always been the small guy, not the small guy, but working on the smallest products, both at Apple and at Dell. And most of those products weren't terribly successful until we got to a 12-inch XGA display. And I knew in my gut that we had to do that. So we went out and we did some customer studies. And I'm saying, of course this is right, but we couldn't, David wouldn't let us go there until we did the customer studies.
And the customer study said 8.5 by 11 piece of paper fits just right on the 12-inch display, and that's the size that they were used to, and the size
because that's what they want to write on.
Yes, they want to do the ink and pen experience on a full-size piece of paper.
And a number of us carried around blocks machined the size of these tablets, that the alternatives that we thought we could introduce to make sure that that's what really felt right.
And so we were so proud of doing 12-inch that the original product name, the M1200, was a reference to the fact that it was the only 12-inch display on the market.
Now that is, I've always wondered, how do companies come up with these number schemes? And with it being your first product, and you come out with the M1200, it assumes that there are some prior designs, but that's intriguing.
So we actually were going with the M for Motion. It was going to be the M1 until we realized that was a tank, right? Which didn't sort of fit in the product category. So then that's where 1200 was born. Because it's a 12-inch screen.
We had several misstarts on naming, but we won't go into all of them.
No.
Yeah, there's some more stories there we'll save for a later date.
A later date. So you were instrumental in the design. I mean, you played probably the key role in the design of these, along with team. You had to have a superb team. And so we've come from the M12 to the M1300, now all the way to the LE1700. What have been some of the different things that you've been the most proud of as you look back? What have been some really good milestones?
Well, certainly the very beginning, trying to understand, trying to guess how people would use a pen-based slate tablet PC was the absolutely the toughest part, and we guessed about some things, and then we tried them on with different users, and most of the time we were right, and sometimes we realized that wasn't a very good idea.
Yeah.
But sifting through all of the important things and the non-important things, that's the part that I'm most proud of.
I've been talking with some companies along the way, and they were talking about a Velcro modeling, where they let the customers really design the PC and the device that they're going to be carrying. And I find it it's fascinating, the levels of the levels of effort that companies like yours go to really nail the form factor, the curves, the screen layout, where the buttons are, how they feel. I mean the customer usage experiences you guys go through probably have tons and tons of.
I have a cabinet that I carefully stash all of the various prototypes and the models that we've done.
Yeah.
Because this is my third PC company. I started with Apple in 1980 and Dell in early 1994, and I didn't save a lot of those things. So I've saved a lot of these bits and pieces where we've modeled them, and a lot of them were successful, and a lot of the models were hindsight not such good ideas.
Let me ask you about your pens.
Sure.
One of the biggest struggles I've had as I've used motion slates in the past have been the pen. It has been the greatest pen I've ever used, and it has been been our Achilles heel because the rubber on them keep coming off, and it's because the heat. Everybody knows it. And as I've talked to your test engineers about all the different things that you've gone through with the pen and tackling the issue of heat. I mean that. And the type of glue and the type of adhesive that you use just to keep the rubber connected. I mean, it is a very comfortable pen, and it's weighted well. What kind of work do you guys do in the area of just figuring out how to design that pen? And I'd love to hear how you guys are improving it so that the heat doesn't become as much of an issue and we don't have those separation problems.
As you can imagine, pen's probably the most personal part of the whole machine.
Yeah.
And it's been an iterative process. When we first did our first tablet, we had to get the product out the door, and we didn't spend as much time in the 12, 13, and 1400 pen.
Yeah.
And then we said, when we started over with the 1600, we had to pay a lot of attention to the pen. And we had people focusing on it, the feel of the pen on the front display, the feel of the button, the ergonomics of the overall design. We spent a lot of effort on it.
Yeah.
We continue to focus on those little details.
I recall we had a goal of making the best pen in the industry.
Yeah.
It's the items John mentioned. It's the feel of the pen. It's the weight balance. I remember we took it and we boiled it in oil to try to simulate the combination of hand oils that accumulate over time and heat to see what would happen to the rubber connection thing.
Yeah.
And that taught us a little bit about the different types of adhesives we can use. And it's that level of focus on this most important personal thing. We got to get it right.
Yeah.
We got to do as much of the testing as we can to get it right for the customer.
Most people don't notice, but the present pen that we ship, if you put it on the desktop and kind of roll it across the tabletop, the pen is slightly out of balance so that it won't roll off the tabletop. Try to pay attention to detail.
It's a smart move. I keep a motion pen, even though I don't have a motion slate right now. I want to, and I've talked with you about those things. I keep a motion pen in my bag because it's a good pen, and so
that's the best endorsement of all. Thank you.
Well, I am really looking forward to what you and your team come up with. I frequently say that if there's a innovative design out there in a slate, you guys always push the envelope, and every tablet that you release, you guys just continue to do that. So, thanks for a good company. I know our readers appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate your support.